Welcome to this episode of Combat and Conversation. I'm your host, Nikita Cronus. I am with Ashton Torcasio, the current Victorian state champion and 11-0 amateur boxer. He's a fantastic guy, a great fighter who has a big future ahead of him, and we're very, very lucky to have him in the studio here today.
I study different fighters at a time.
Right.
So I try to take out like Infinity Stones in like Avengers. Like I try to take a little bit from each fighter.
Yes.
And then put it into myself. Little bumps in the road that's, you know, either you can stop and let them get to you, or, you know, you can keep pushing. They got to have challenges and stuff. That's what makes them champion.
Mr. Ashton Torcasio, when did you first start getting into fighting, into the fight game?
I didn't really get into fighting until like I was way older, until I was 16. So when I was growing up, I did like a bunch of different sports. Footy, basketball, athletics, like you name it, all them. But I was never into boxing.
Right.
But
even with your dad as a fighter?
No.
Really?
Wasn't into it until, you know, just I knew like if you push yourself in anything, you can make it far.
Of course.
And at the time, I was doing weights and basketball. When I did basketball, I was into it. You know, I pushed hard. But I was doing weights at the time, and then I just decided to do boxing after I got into a fight, and I thought like I could do something with this. Like maybe I should start.
Wait, what do you mean, after you got into a fight?
Yeah.
Like a fight outside of the boxing ring?
Yeah.
What happened there?
I just got into a fight, and like it wasn't really a serious fight, but it was just more like I did well, and it was just like I felt like I had potential.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
And it wasn't that much of a serious fight, but it was a fight, and it kind of woke me up, and I'm like I should start incorporating it maybe once a week, twice a week, and then went 3 times a week. And then I said to myself, I'm like, anything I do, I can make it far in if you really push yourself. So that's why I was like, I'm not going to do weights anymore. Let's see how far I can go with boxing.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And growing up, obviously, we mentioned with your dad, Tony Torcasio, being a very well-known kickboxer here in Australia, in Melbourne specifically. Even though you didn't start fighting till
16.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, pretty late.
Were you still involved in, I guess, the scene of fighting through your dad, or watching tapes or anything? Like, did you ever see your dad on screen and say, wow, I want to be like him?
Yeah, no, I watched my dad a bit.
Okay.
Like, when he'd show me. You know, my dad was a very good fighter, very tough.
Very good.
Strong, durable. And then, I wasn't, it just wasn't into it.
Yeah, fair enough.
My dad, but my dad would get people to hold the pads for me. And I'm like, what is this? I don't like to do it. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just do it for him, just to do the pads. But I always had technique. I always knew technique, but physically I wasn't good. I was never strong.
Okay.
Never athletic. It wasn't until, I started doing my training. That's when I started getting athletic. But I always had technique, from my dad, and just being around it.
Okay, and you're saying you only really developed that part of yourself like a bit later on. I mean, you're only 19 years old, but around 16, you were starting to really take it seriously. And so, do you think that obviously when you first had that sort of fight outside of the ring, and then you were like, okay, maybe I can start doing well. Did you ever envision it to be like, okay, I'm going to take this really seriously? Or when did that come into play? Or was it just more like, oh, maybe I'll do a training session once a week?
So I left out that I was doing kickboxing for a little bit.
Okay.
And I was a bit talented at it, and I did enjoy it, but I was doing basketball at the time, more focused on basketball. But I did enjoy the kickboxing, and
Yeah, no, fair enough. You enjoyed kickboxing, and obviously it's a easy transition. Or not easy, but there is obviously a lot of overlap.
I had potential in it,
Yeah, of course. And your dad being a trainer at FightFit as well, being involved in the scene for a long time, through his friends as well, who are professional boxers like Sam Greco and Tosca and all that. What was it like, I guess, early on when you first started fighting, to be around these types of figures and having them sort of guide you in the fight scene? How did that feel? What was that experience like?
It means everything to be like surrounded by all my dad's friends. Like everyone just talks great about them, and I'm lucky to be able to be experienced with them. Like, having them around me.
Yeah.
Tarsus, Paul, Brendan, Bash, all them, like all supporting me and like being around me at the gym. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
They've all been supporting me. So I learned a little bit from everyone, but I still, I understand that like back in the day, didn't really get to my head until more recently, like how big they were, they were tough. They all trained together. They were like the best in
They were the best
Australia.
in the biz.
That's the assumption I've gotten. I never trained with them, obviously.
Yeah.
I trained with Paul a few times, but I never was in their era. But what I heard, it feels good to have them by my side. And
Absolutely.
me.
And it's a true assumption. I mean, they were the best in the biz in Australia.
From what I heard,
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we'll get into your record soon about sort of where your fights have taken you so far. But I just want to know a little bit more about, I guess, the experience of training early on. Like, was it a shock to the system for you when you first started getting into the ring? Having, as you said, when someone held pads for you at the start, you're like, I don't know what's going on. What was that experience like, starting to train in boxing a bit more seriously?
I'm like the type of person that I like to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
But I love taking in different aspects from everyone else, because you can always learn something from different people.
Of course.
So I'm not always like, I don't know much. I listen to my coach.
Yeah.
He tells me what to do. He tells me to do this. He tells me to do that. Now, I like doing my own research and like figuring out what works for me. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to do, because for some people, maybe their IQ is not there, or they just like doing things their way. I like doing things, my way a bit.
Yeah.
I like to know what feels good, and I've had good success with it as well.
Yeah. You have an instinct.
Yeah. So I like doing what I like to do, but I love learning from different coaches, just little parts that I can incorporate into my game as,
Absolutely.
as a fighter.
And what happens when you might have, I don't know if this has happened to you, but when you might have an instinct about something, or like maybe I should focus on this, or I should do this in a fight, but your coach says otherwise. How do you have you had to manage that before, or what's the situation?
My coach Brendan, he's very easygoing.
Brendan's fantastic.
I trust him.
Another FightFit trainer.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's one of those coaches that it's not everything about his style. He lets everyone do their own style.
Yes.
Whether they want to be like a tough fighter, inside fighter, or they want to be distance fighter, they want to be aggressive, they want to throw a lot of punches. He lets you do what you want to do, but he'll, critique you, give you feedback, and just like support you. He's the best, Brendan.
Fantastic. Is he a straight shooter? I've heard that before, that he's very like, I'm just going to tell you like it is though.
A little bit. Like I have some coaches, for example, Tarsis. Tarsis just gives it to me straight. He just gives it to me straight. He says I'm shit. After my 10th fight, after my 10th fight, I dropped the guy 3 times in an amateur fight with headgear and gloves. And the first thing he says to me was like, "That was shit. You didn't do anything I told you to do." He said, "You didn't do anything I told you to do." And I'm like, all right, I had too much adrenaline. I kind of forgot about it a bit. But
that's fantastic.
People like Tarsis, he's straight to the point. My dad, he's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Bit of both he's got. But I love getting feedback from everyone, because people that want to give you feedback, they're the ones that they're taking time to care about.
Of course, they have that belief in you and they want to help you.
Yeah, they're not real if they're just in your ear the whole time.
Yeah,
you're good, because you can't get much better. But Brendan's a bit of everything.
That's nice.
Yeah, Brendan.
And then Tosca's the other extreme.
Yeah, Tarsus and all them. They're just
that's fantastic.
This or that,
No.
I love it, but it depends on the person. Of course, some people they need that confidence to push them.
Of course, yeah.
And then there's some people, it's just they want feedback. They just want to get better.
They
don't care if they're, saying what they want to hear. It's about, depends on the person. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about your record. You're 11-0.
Yeah.
You won a big fight over the weekend as well. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
How does it feel so far? What's I'm assuming you're still riding this wave. What is and obviously, God willing, that continues and you keep getting these victories. What do you think is working for you now? Let's say, what particularly in your game do you think is working for you?
What's working for me? Just a bit of momentum and confidence. I believe in myself, and I like to do what I like to do. I believe in myself. I know whatever I'm going to do, it's going to work, and I like to have challenges. Challenges is what pushes me. As my dad would always say to me, like fear and stuff like that pushes you when you're having tough fights.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way. Tyson says something like that. I think it's
fear is what.
Yeah, it's fuel. Yeah. Fear can be turned into fuel depending on how you use it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you think that the biggest victory so far has been mental for you, like going in there with that belief, knowing that you've trained, you've done the job, and you just have to go and execute.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe myself, because like when I first started, I was just like, if I push as hard as I can, let's say I could become a world champion in anything I want to do. Like if you train hard, you do the right things, you'll make it. But it's hard to believe. It's just gone too good. I find it hard to believe myself that I'm 11-0, because I checked the other day.
You are.
Yeah, I checked the other day, like all the undefeated. I tried to look, but I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate. I was scrolling through all the boxing amateur records, and I was looking through people with over 10 fights, checking if any of them I have a 0
Yeah.
In loss. And there was no one there above 10 fights. So I might be the highest undefeated record in Australia at the moment.
That
I
is
think, but yeah.
that is outstanding. That is outstanding.
It's gone well, you know. But
Fantastic, mate. Well, absolutely. Like that's the best you can hope for, right? But that's the best you can wish for at this point, and you're putting in the work, so the results speak for themselves. So that's on you, and obviously the team that's surrounding you.
Yeah.
What do you think about in terms of like your training, how things are going so far? You're 11-0. What is right now, I guess, your end goal throughout all of this? I mean, it might be a bit premature to even ask that because you're young and you're again, you've had 11 fights, 11 of those sanctioned fights. What is your end goal throughout all this? Do you have that in mind at the moment? Is it to become world champion? Is it to become the best fighter in Australian history? What is your vision there?
My end goal, I don't really have I don't really have any goals at the moment.
Okay.
I just believe that whatever I do, I can just, if I push hard, I'll do it, you know, I'll commit. But I don't have any goals at the moment, but I just know when I'm training hard, like whatever I want to do, I'll do it. Like I got a few goals, you know, obviously it's winning my fights at the moment.
Yes.
Win each fight, probably the Victorian titles, probably the Australian titles. But yeah, I'm not too focused on them, but if I want to do them, I know I'll push hard and I'll get them. But
yes. Yeah.
more long term, like I'll just see where it goes, you know, if my main goal is just making people around me proud. Stuff beautiful. Like that.
That's
and
beautiful.
like all the people that have been supporting me pretty much. But yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, that's good. So you're focused more on the immediate at the moment, and getting the stuff that you need to get done.
If I want to do something, I'll do it.
Yeah, beautiful.
I believe in myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What who and what inspires you as a fighter?
What inspires me?
Is there any even a particular
Not losing.
Not losing.
Nah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's probably what inspires me.
Yeah.
Not losing. Yeah.
Are there any fighters out there that you've watched or that you know that inspire you as a fighter?
Yes, I like Floyd Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
I like Floyd Mayweather. I like Canelo, Devin Haney, Jamal Charlo's good. But I study different fighters at a time.
Right.
So I try to take out like Infinity Stones in like Avengers. Like I try to take a little bit from each fighter.
Yes.
And then put it into myself. So I'm not just one fighter. I try and be good. So for example, let's say Devin Haney, he has a good jab. I'm watching Devin Haney working on my jab, working on things that he's good at, and I try and perfect it for a few weeks or until a fight. And then let's say I believe that I'm good at that. Let's move on to something else. Let's watch, for example, Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Now I'm being aggressive. I'm moving forward, moving my head, throwing power. And then once I'm good at that, I'll move on to the next thing. That's what like sparks me. That's what
I love that idea. So you take what you like from every fighter that you watch or that you aspire to, and you just take part of them and implement it. That's fantastic.
Like
and you do that.
Stones.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's a great way to put it, like Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And you structure it out like, okay, I'm going to have a few weeks where I'm just going to focus on that, and then I move on.
Yeah.
And will you come back to it maybe at some point again?
Yeah, it just depends what motivates me. Like what I feel like. Like I'm watching a certain fighter at the moment. He's aggressive. He throws a lot of combinations. And that kind of matches the amateur game when you're throwing just long combinations, more speed, less power, and you want to, come forward and be aggressive. So I'm watching him at the moment, trying to perfect that, trying to get better at that. And then, maybe for my next fight, I'm watching someone else completely different. It's just more what I feel like. That's what I was saying before.
Yeah.
Whatever I feel like is good for me, that's how I like to train.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how often are you sitting down and just watching tapes of fighters? I know that some fighters love doing that a lot. Some of them don't like doing it at all.
Yeah.
What's your sort of approach to that?
I believe it helps you regardless. I feel like it's like muscle memory.
Absolutely, yeah.
A bit muscle memory. I don't know if it's maybe you can't really watch it and be on your phone at the same time. I don't know if that helps or if you have to be, stuck watching it still. But I have it written down on my phone to watch it 20 minutes a day. But leading up to my fights, I just try and say as much as I can.
Yeah.
An hour. Like I'll be watching that fighter that I'm studying, or I'm just, When I get closer to my fights, I watch more amateur boxing. Yeah. More fast paced, less power and stuff. Even though when I fight, I'm punching hard. I'm fighting aggressive and stuff. It's inevitable, when I'm fighting in the amateurs.
Yeah. And is that what you think you have? Is that the edge that you think you have against your opponent so far? Is that aggression?
Yeah,
really?
A little bit, yeah.
Just coming forward.
I think that now, yeah.
Okay.
I don't want my opponents to watch this, but
yeah, they can't get any insights.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
they're gonna see it, but it's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
That's
okay. Yeah, we just change it up on the day. Wonderful. So you're 11-0. what is I guess I'm very interested in sort of finding out your mentality as a fighter, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously I speak to your dad and I speak to the other trainers at FightFit who are obviously talking about what the best way is to sort of build up young fighters, the best training techniques, the best methods. My question to you is, now that you're at this point where you're 11-0, it actually relates to what we just talked about, but is there something that you have to do with each fight to sort of keep your opponent off guard, in the sense that, okay, I've been fighting this way so far for the past fights and it seems to be working. Is it the next fight where you try something different so you can catch them off guard just in case they know how you approach it? Is that what you...
I try and study my fighters.
Nice.
Some people don't do it. Some people just completely ignore it.
Yep.
You know, they're like, oh, you know, it is what it is. Brendan's mentality. Brendan's not a fan of it. Brendan's like, who cares who you fight? You know, you're gonna win regardless. Who cares? You know, you got him. You know. But me, I like to figure out who they are. You know, not too much, but if I know who they are, if I've seen them before, their style, how to counter it, what I need to do for training, like for each one of my fights. Because in my amateur career so far, I've fought different styles. I believe I fought a shorter southpaw, a big southpaw who's aggressive and doesn't throw many punches, but he's aggressive and he moves weirdly. And then I fought at 67 kilos. I fought a 6'3" long boxer.
Jeez.
I fought a 23-year-old a few weeks ago, and I fought a boxer that comes forward with his hands up, moves his head. So I believe I fought different fighters. So it's just I can adapt.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to work on adapting to who I'm fighting. You
to
know?
who you're fighting, always. Yeah.
Bringing out it just depends on it. Like if I want to work on more strength because of the opponent, if I want to work on, if I know that I need to be fit, if I know that maybe I'm not in the best condition physically in fitness, you know, I'll work on something like body shots and I'll try to slow them down straight away.
Right.
It's just a bunch of different things. Like if someone throws a lot of punches, for example, I want to be throwing power. I want to be throwing a bit of power and moving a little bit, so then they can think twice about throwing all these punches.
Of course,
so I just that's what I actually believe separates me from the best, because I try and
adapt in the moment.
I just adapt.
Beautiful.
I take pride in being a fighter that can change it up.
Well, that's a huge skill, I would imagine, is just to be able to think on your feet like that and be able to make the best out of whatever situation you're in. Now, this is probably a little bit of a deeper question, but you tell me what you think of this. I'm assuming that, considering your dad's sort of I guess renown as a fighter here in Australia, right? Even within kickboxing,
as in like well known,
well known. Just sort of people know him as a fighter, a sort of a stalwart of the industry, particularly in its early days, like when it first started coming up. Is there a part of you that sees that legacy and says, I want to be a part of that? Or are you more like, I want to carve my own path?
Nah, carve my own path, you know. Like my dad, he's a good fighter. But I want to carve my own path, you know. I just want to do what I feel like doing, you know. If that's retiring, if that's switching to kickboxing, it's just whatever I want to do, you know. That's what I want to build a name for myself. But I still carry my dad's last name, so.
Of course, he's your dad.
Yeah, all the respect to my dad as a fighter.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Okay, cool. Well, let's get into some of the sort of like little specifics about your, I guess, pre-fight, post-fight type of routines. Yeah. I'm interested to know. So, leading up to a fight, let's say the next fight that you have, right? Yeah. The day of, what's that like?
I'll take everything seriously. Like the
breakfast in the morning?
The 2 days before, everything. I make sure just everything's good. I do as I say, I don't like no one telling me like what to do. You know, I get advice, I get feedback, but whatever works for me, that's just the type of person I am. That's how it works for me. So I just do what I like to do. I'll eat something I feel like eating.
What will you eat? Give me an example.
Okay, when?
the morning of the fight.
Okay, so the morning of the fight, I normally have pancakes. I make my own pancakes. I blend it up. They taste like shit. I just put honey and stuff. Like I just put banana, oats and stuff. But I'm getting the carbs. Yeah. I'm getting the carbs in me. So it depends if I'm cutting weight or not. I don't really cut weight. But I'm fighting at 70. I walk around at like 69 at the moment. So I'm trying to put some muscle on. But if I don't care about weight, I'll just be trying to be eating carbs. Yeah. Eating on carbs. So I'll have that. And then I'll have a few snacks, whether that's LCM bar or
beautiful.
A carbohydrate drink, some honey, or
you just eat what you want. It's good.
Yeah, pre-workout. But when I'm warming up And just the days before, I do everything just unique, you know? Because, I just like doing it how I like doing it, what feels good for me.
Well, what's that like? What type? What are we talking?
I can't give away the secrets.
Oh, you can't? Oh my gosh, there's magic in it.
I'll put like a few things in.
I love it. Okay.
I'll put a few things in. So like what I do is I have so weird. I'm telling you, no one does this.
It's funny. It's good.
So I have people see me. I have like weights and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like warming up with the weights before the fight. No one does that, but I'm doing every punch hard. So it's like I'm trying to activate my muscles because I'm normally stiff.
Yeah.
Because I do a bit of weights and stuff like that. It's just how I am.
Yeah.
No one does this. Everyone's, skipping, shadow boxing, pads, whatever, whatever their coach says, the coach leads it.
Of course.
I'm out here fucking by myself, just with like 1 kilo weights, just going, trying to activate my muscles.
Yeah.
Trying to do that. Like for my last fight, there was a gym and I was doing landmine presses like a workout before because I just, I'm doing what activates my muscles. Right. No one's done this. I haven't seen no professional fighters,
Yeah.
Everyone's, it's always the same thing, but I just do what feels good for me. Like I'll massage myself before. I got like gel used for horses.
Used for horses?
Horses and dogs for horse racing. I use that. Like I'm giving away the sauce.
That's okay.
I got the gel.
Everyone out there's going to start putting
massage myself. I put it on. It's only for horses and dogs. I put that on. I'll stretch. Some people don't stretch. I'll do my own sort of stretching and I do 100%. That's what like puts me focused because I get focused when I do stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. It's a ritual or types of rituals just unique to you.
And sometimes I don't even warm up really.
You just get into
do a bit of stretching because I'm always late to my fights. I'm always late.
That's no good.
I'm always late.
What do you mean you're late? Well, how close to the fight?
Because the fights get cancelled. Like because I got ADHD, I do a lot of things last minute.
Right.
Do everything rushed. But then there's cancellations. Like there's been fights where I've just gone there and it's like, shit, I got 10 minutes.
Before your fight?
My hand wraps aren't even on. Yeah. For my fourth fight, I was late. Fourth fight, I was late. Just put my hand wraps on and I'm like, I'm just going to wing it.
All right. So you've got your own little sort of, not tics, but they're your own little habits that you sort of implement leading up to the fight and also getting out there. What about after the fight? What's the, like, let's say, come from a big win. You've come from a lot of big wins.
Yeah.
What are you doing as soon as you're done? What's your
training. I'm not getting back to training. I like to relax.
You chill? You chill for how long?
Relax. I like to like let the win sit in, like to show that I'm like I'm proud of myself. Like I actually trained hard and I got the win.
Yeah.
I like to stay around at the venue.
Yep.
A bit, just let it sink in. I don't want to leave straight away. Like I know people that leave straight away. They're back to home. They're back home and they're just at home, just on their phones or whatever. I like to let it sink in. Like I won. I'm a fighter. Like I just trained hard. I got a win. It's not straight back to training, even though it's a good mentality. 'Cause sometimes I want to go back to training. Depends on the fight. If I didn't fight well, if I did something wrong,
you want to get back into it.
I want to get back into it. Oh yeah, my jab was shit. Let's say I kept getting counted or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not like I want to work on that. But I like to take a few days off and just act like I deserve the rest.
Nice.
Just makes the win sit in a bit better.
Yeah, of course.
And then I get straight back into
Let's the adrenaline drop slightly as well.
Yeah, not just I need to train straight back to it. I'm just sometimes I'll train straight up like the day after or 2 days after.
Yeah.
I'm starting to prefer just taking a few days off and just letting it sink in.
Of course, and I'm sure you get a big bite to eat as well at some point straight after.
Yeah.
Yeah, smash it. Smash a burger.
Calories, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I only do it just so it's like, you deserve this.
Yeah.
I do just fun stuff, just so you deserve this. I'm trying to let it sink in.
Yeah,
So
of course.
And then when I'm ready, that's when I'm hard. Everything, I'm training hard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then straight after the fight, I'm letting it sink in.
Yeah.
I deserved it. You trained hard.
Yeah.
You did your thing. Not just that mindset of, I need to do better, I need to do better, I need to do better. Straight back to it. I'm not going to enjoy this win. I'm just going to train hard, you deserve it. Like just chill a bit.
Of course. Now, obviously, you're still very young. Again, you just started your career in many ways. 2 questions. Number 1, and this is something that maybe you can educate me on a little bit. Is there any sort of impetus or incentive for you to try out or to sort of give it a go outside of Australia? Has that ever been on the conversation with you?
For fighting outside of Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Like I want to push myself.
Yeah.
I don't want my fights to be easy.
Well, the reason why I asked partly is because I know that speaking to some coaches at FightFit who have trained fighters over the years who did quite well in Australia,
Yeah.
but they never left Australia. They didn't even want to leave Australia.
Yeah.
So sometimes I guess it's different if you don't have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
But there are some who have the opportunity but just don't want to go. But you seem to be like, yeah, why not? If that opportunity comes about.
Yeah, you can always learn something, you know, and I'm sure the competition steps up, depends on where you go. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't want all my fights to be easy. Like I've been told I've probably won all of my rounds of fighting.
Wow.
Like I've had maybe one close fight, but I've done really well.
Did Tarsus tell you that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
I've had maybe one close fight, but even my dad and even Paul, you know, Paul knows his stuff. They've said I haven't really lost a round yet. So, but I'm still down to see who I am past just winning, because it's the losses that make you.
Yes.
Stuff like that, being in, for example, like adversity.
Yeah.
Being in tough fights. Like that's when your character gets brought out. I can't just win every fight, or else it's not fun.
Well, that brings me to my second question.
It's fun because I'm training hard, but I've never been, you know, I want to be tested. I want
Yes,
to
of course.
see what I'm made of and just push past, because that's when you get really proud of yourself. And
That's right, overcoming that adversity. And that was the question I was going to ask you, considering you are on this great and fantastic win streak, and obviously, hopefully it keeps going. How do you feel about sort of bouncing back from, I guess, types of adversity that you may not have even approached yet, you know, like considering you haven't lost a fight? Have you had moments potentially in the gym where it's a type of loss where you've had to be like, okay, I need to overcome this and I need to bounce back?
Yeah.
Hard sparring session maybe.
Everyone's had bad spars. I've heard all the best fighters in the world, they've all got bashed in sparring.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has bad days. I have bad days training a lot, but I have really good days training. But yeah, sometimes after a bad spar, you're like, what's the point? You know?
Really?
Not really me, but like a little bit. You know, it's like you start to get voices in your head, doubts. But sometimes, when you spar, like you could be sparring someone that's not even that good, but just their style
Throws you off?
puts you off. Like I might be fighting, like I could just be fighting, for example, let's just say I'm not good against sluggers or whatever. They just throw a lot of punches. They're stronger than me. They might not even be good. They might just be a random person in the gym. But if it doesn't work with your style, they might, you know, put you down, and then you might not feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
You might think, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Nobody, and he's touching me up, you know, am I good? So it's just, you know, everyone has bad days in the gym.
Of course.
But it's like the ones that keep pushing are the ones that
The champions.
They're the champions, yeah.
That's right.
It's normal. It's just tests to see how far you can make it.
Yeah.
It's just tests to see, like, you know, little bumps in the road. It's, you know, either you can stop and let them get to you, or, you know, you can keep pushing and stuff like that.
Of course. Of course.
Champions can't just win all the time. They can't just win. Or else it's not fun. They got to have challenges and stuff. That's what makes them champions.
Is there any way that you sort of, I mean, beside hard sparring, where you purposely put that in your place, where like you put adversity around you to sort of test yourself a little bit? I'm sure the training that you would have received off Paul and Brendan and all that push you obviously to an nth degree, but is there anything specifically or particularly that they do to make you really go through the ringer, so to speak?
In my first few fights, when I was very nervous, that was when I had to lock in. That was when I was a bit scared and stuff like that. For my third fight, I fought someone 2 years older. Thinking back to my dad and all those guys that he trained with, they would fight way older people when they were young. They didn't care. I heard Paul fought, like in a karate tournament, he fought someone 30 when he was 16, when he first started or something like that. And I fought someone 2 years old and I was scared. He had 9 fights. That was my third fight. So I was a bit nervous for that. So
you just throw yourself in the fire?
Yeah, pretty much.
And see what happens.
It gives me like the dopamine and the focus that I need to when it gets nervous and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I thrive off that a bit.
Yeah, fantastic. What about outside of boxing? We've talked a lot about sort of your fight mentality, the fight game so far. Obviously, again, great win streak so far.
Yeah.
What outside of boxing? What are you doing? What are your interests? What's keeping you busy when you're not in the gym?
Fighting, but mainly I'm focused on like career at the moment. You know, I got a lot of pressure. You know, it's hard when you get to this age, because some people, they want to do this, they want to do that. And a lot of people don't know what they want to do. I'm kind of falling into that category. I'm not sure what I want to do. You know, I got boxing, but I'm not sure how far I can go, or not that I believe in myself if I want to do it, but it's just I don't know what I want to do. If I want to do a career, because at the moment I'm more focused on the career, but I'm still doing boxing. But it's like I could be spending all these years thinking about what to do as a career, And then let's say after 3 years, I'm like, let's do boxing, let's focus. That's 3 years gone that I could have focused on boxing. So kind of in that spot where I'm not sure where I want to be doing with myself at the moment.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
You have to be single-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you just, for our watchers and listeners at the moment, why don't you rattle off, I guess, and this is not a way for you to boast or anything, but I think it would be good for people to know some of the accolades that you've already, outside of your record, your 11-0, what are some of your particular accolades that you've achieved in terms of any medals, any awards, any type of championships or anything like that, anything that you can point to that you're like, okay, this was a really proud moment in my early career. Is there anything that you can point to specifically?
Sort of, like when I was growing up doing sports, the ones that I didn't really like, I wasn't good at. The sports that I like, I did well in them.
Okay.
So when I was doing athletics, my sister, she was good. She was winning state titles at like 9 years old.
Yeah.
She was good. She was really talented. I wasn't like good at athletics. And athletics is like a measure of everything physically.
Of course.
Strength, speed, power, explosiveness. I wasn't good at anything at athletics. So like when I started doing sports, like I feel like my good genetics got gifted to my sisters. I wasn't that good. I wasn't fast. I couldn't jump. Couldn't do that. So I wasn't good at athletics. I was all right at long distance running, but that's because I trained hard at it. So yeah, athletics I wasn't good at. Footy, when I really enjoyed footy, I was pretty good at it. I had a bit of potential, but it wasn't what I wanted to do that much. I liked it, but it wasn't something like boxing. Boxing, it's like, I know what I need to do. It's a one-man sport.
Yeah, it's just you and the opponent.
Basketball, I got good quickly. After like a year, I was like playing with my mates that are at a high level. I was pretty good at basketball because I really loved it. And then, when I switched to boxing, that's when I was
started picking.
Yeah,
beautiful.
But, I did karate when I was younger. They said I was good at it. I thought I wasn't good at it. I thought I was not good at it. I didn't know, but I was like, I did it from I think I was 6 to maybe 8.
Okay.
6 to maybe 9. They said I was good at it, but it was just another thing for me. I just did it because they were like karate, self-defense, nothing important to me.
Fair enough. Wasn't the same passion.
Yeah.
Fair. What's your relationship like with the FightFit crew, Brendan and Faisal? How are they treating and how do you operate together?
So I'm extremely close with Brendan.
Yeah.
Like he means a lot to me. Faisal, he's like my second coach. I do most of the training and stuff like that myself, but Brendan will train with me maybe once or twice a week.
Okay.
Because that's what works for me. But with all the gyms at FightFit, they all support me tremendously and they all have my back. They've all been supporting me since I was young. So thanks to them. But Faisal, he helps me warm up before my fights. My dad helps me warm up before my fights as well. But they're good in the corner. They really help me in the corner.
You've got a good a FightFit community behind you.
Yeah, my sister was just saying before, she was saying like, oh, I don't think you understand like all the support you have. Like all the big names and stuff.
Mate, I can hear it. It's funny. I hear it around the gym all the time. Like Ashton this, Ashton that, in a good way.
I have them around me, like in my fights. Paul and stuff like that. I'm just like, that's just my godfather. That's my dad's friend. Yeah. But then to my opponent or maybe my opponent's trainer,
you've got a gym behind you.
All right, look who you're coming up against.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I don't notice it because I'm still young. I don't really know, But there's big names in my corner.
You've got big names. You've got a community. I've got
a community. Yeah,
I'm
thankful for the support.
Absolutely, and those people there they want to see you succeed, and they are seeing you succeed, and I'm no doubt they'll be with you till the very end. So
that's good. Yeah,
you've got a big future. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ashton.
Thank you for
coming on.
You.
Good luck with everything. Keep killing it, and we'll talk again very soon. Thanks for watching this episode of Combat and Conversation. Again, that was Mr. Ashton Torcasio. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Stay fit, stay healthy, and we'll see you at FightFit soon.